If conservatives want to see their ideas prevail and ideals achieved, they must stop playing on the liberals' field and by their rules. They have to cease responding to outrageous charges that they don't care about the poor and minorities, or immigrants and women, and care only about the rich. They have to do this not just by ignoring the charge and trying to defend themselves against a negative, which cannot be proven. After all, how do you prove you're not a racist? But also with a forward-looking vision and a positive agenda. Show and tell on taxes. The best way to prove that one's ideas work is to show examples. Show and tell was the name of it in elementary school. We conservatives don't care about the poor. We do, and we must start featuring in our speeches, our conversations, and our writings examples of people who once were poor but now are self-sufficient, even prosperous, because they embraced values that work, such as staying in school, not having children out of wedlock, rejecting drugs, and being honest and hard-working. A light must be turned on in every head, exposing the lie that the government is supreme and you can't do anything for yourself, and that if you do something to better yourself, you will be taxed and regulated to death. The lie about lower taxes favoring only the rich has been disproved by many conservative thinkers, but it rarely breaks through the filter of the big media. Thomas Sowell of Stanford's Hoover Institution has written, quote, "In 1921, when the tax rate on people making over $100,000 a year was 73%, the federal government collected a little over $700 million in income taxes, of which 30% was paid by those making over $100,000. By 1929, after a series of tax rate reductions had cut the tax rate to 24% on those making more than $100,000, and thanks to Calvin Coolidge, the federal government collected more than $1 billion in income taxes, of which 65% was collected from those making over $100,000, unquote. When taxes were raised during the administration of Woodrow Wilson to pay for World War I, people underreported their income and/or sought tax shelters so they wouldn't have to pay the higher rates. After that war, when rates were reduced, more capital came out from hiding and was reported to the IRS because the lower rates encouraged people to make more money, knowing they could keep more. In 1962, President John F. Kennedy said, quote, "It is a paradoxical truth that tax rates are too high today and tax revenues are too low, and the soundest way to raise revenues in the long run is to cut the rates now," unquote. He and Congress did, and tax revenues increased. Ronald Reagan followed the same path, as did George W. Bush, though Bush failed to significantly reduce spending and in fact added to it, and not just to pay for wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. The tax cuts of Reagan and Bush in each case produced more income to the federal treasury and more money in the hands of the private sector to invest and create jobs by spending, not sheltering income. Show and tell on big government. The top three in American talk radio are Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, and Mark Levin. They and their colleagues are among the best at articulating the conservative position on major economic and social issues. Notice I didn't say the Republican position, but the conservative position. There's sometimes a difference. On March 8, 2013, Rush talked about how the left's tactics never change and how they too often browbeat Republicans into submission with the same old message of fear they've used since the 1930s. On one of his radio programs, Limbaugh made the case I'm making here. He replayed some sound bites he had used before of Democrats using the same language, what he called fear-mongering. They had used the same language during a 1995 debate over welfare reform. The same words, Groundhog Day again. The Democrats warned of disaster, people starving, homelessness, no health care or job loss. Sound familiar? For the left, it's always about expanding the size and cost of government, though a fair and objective look at government and how it has failed to solve the problems it is asked to solve should lead us to conclude, as Ronald Reagan said, that government isn't the answer, government is the problem. The left promises lower health care costs if government runs health care, but as Limbaugh asked those who put their faith in government, quote, "Is health care more expensive or less? Is health care more affordable or less? Is health care insurance more affordable or less? Is health treatment, is it more available or not? Is it better? Are you able to get treated when you're sick? Are you able to pay for it? Does your insurance cover it?"